Welcome to Techietalkee. Hello friends. In this video, I'll be explaining you on how to write a Python program to print a Pascal's triangle for the required number of rows. Pascal's triangle is a triangular arrangement of numbers. It was actually named after Blaise Pascal. The pattern of triangle is that the topmost number is always 1 and we'll have ones on both the sides of the triangle. The values in between the triangle will be the sum of the top two numbers above it. For example, I have 1 here and I have 2. 2 is nothing but 1 plus 1. Then I have 1 in the rightmost side of the triangle. In the next line, 1 plus 2 will give me 3. 2 plus 1 will give me 3. Now let me explain you how to write a Python code for this. From the first line of numbers, we are going to generate the second line, and from the second line we are going to generate the third line, and it keeps going on. So to generate this pattern, I need two lists. The first list to store the values of the first line and the second list to store the values of the second line. After I print the first line, I will have the first list to store the values of the second line, and the second list will generate the values of the third line. It keeps going on for the required number of times in an iteration based on the value that is entered by the user. This is my Python code. Let me explain you in detail on how this code works. First, I'm getting the input value from the user and I'm going to store it in the variable val. And this is the value that is going to decide for how many lines this Pascal triangle has to be generated. In our example, let's consider the value to be 4, which means we are going to generate 4 lines of Pascal triangle. As I had already mentioned, we are going to use two lists and we are going to generate the value on the second list based on the value from the first list. So my first list is going to be list 1 and my second list is going to be list 2. Initially, my list 1 is going to hold the value 1. So let me give 1 here. For I in range of 1, val plus 1. The value of val is 4. 4 plus 1, 5. Let me give the values here. The range function is going to return 1, 2, 3 and 4. It is going to stop here in 4 because it is not going to consider the last value. And initially the value of I is going to be the first value. The first value is 1. So the value of I is going to be 1. For SP in range of 1, 2 into val minus I. The reason for this for loop is that we are going to print the values in a triangular format along with spaces. So we need to introduce spaces before the triangle and also in between the numbers present in the triangle. So for that, I'm using this for loop. So it is going to be for SP in range of 1, 2 into val. So the value of 2 into val is going to be 8 minus I. The value of I is currently 1. So 8 minus 1 is 7. So it is going to be SP will be in the range of 1 to 7. But since range will ignore the last value, the SP is going to hold the values of 1 to 6. So this nested for loop is going to execute first, where I'm going to introduce space here. So initially the value of SP is going to be 1. I'm going to print one blank space and I'm passing this int argument. The reason is that the print statement by default prints a new line. So if we want to print a series of numbers on the same line, we have to pass this end argument. The for loop keeps going on. Now the value of SP is going to be 2 and I'm going to print another blank space here. Next the value of SP will be 3 and I'll have another blank space. The value of SP will now be 4 I'll have another blank space. SP will be 5 now. I'll have one more blank space. SP will be 6. And then I'll have one blank space. So 6 blank spaces will get printed on the output window. And the for loop terminates here because it is going to be only from 1 to 6. The control goes to the next nested for loop where it says for j in range of 0, len of list 1. So the length of list 1 is 1 and this range is not going to consider the last value, so it is going to be only 0. Here what I'm doing is I'm printing the value of list 1. So list 1 of j. The value of j is currently 0. So list 1 of 0 will get printed here. List 1 of 0 is 1. So 1 gets printed on the output screen, followed by a blank space because we have given the end argument here. Next, we have list 2 which we are making blank and list 2 dot append of list 1 of 0. So the list 1 of 0 is 1 which we are first adding to list 2. Next, the control goes to the next for loop where it says for k in range of len of list 1. The length of list 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And here what we are doing is we are going to add list 1 of 0 and list 1 of 1. We don't have any value in list 1 of 1. So the control comes out and then it goes to the next line where it says list 2 dot append of list 1 of minus 1. Here we are using the negative index where we are going to access the list items from the last. So the last item in this particular list is 1, which will get appended to this list 2. So 1 gets added to this particular list 2. Then list 1 equal to list 2. So what I am doing here is that I am copying the values of this list 2 to list 1. So my list 1 is going to be 1, 1. And then I'm printing a new line. So the control goes to the next line. Now the value of I is going to be 2 for SP in range of 1, 2 into val. So 2 into val is 2 into 4 which is 8 and 8 minus I. The value of I is 2. So 8 minus 2 is 6. And the value of SP is now going to be range of 1 to 6. But since the last value is excluded, so it is going to consider only 1 to 5. And initially the value of SP is going to be the first value which is 1. And here I'm going to introduce these many spaces. So first I'm going to print a blank space when SP is 1 and then I'm passing this end argument which says that I'm going to print on the same line. The value of SP next becomes 2 and I'm going to print one more blank space. Value of SP will become 3 and I'm going to print one more blank space. The value of SP will be 4 now and I'm going to print one more blank space. SP is now going to be 5 and I'm going to print one more blank space. The execution stops here and then the control moves to the next nested for loop. So here we have for j in range of 0, len of list 1. The value of list 1 is now holding two values. So the length of this particular list is 2. So it is going to be range of 0, 2, which means range of 0, 1. So the value of j is going to be 0, 1. Value of j will currently be 0. And what I'm doing here, print list 1 of j. List 1 of 0, which is 1. So I'm going to print 1 here, followed by a blank space, which is passed in the end argument. So I'm giving a blank space here. and then the value of j will now become 1. So I'm going to print list 1 of 1. List 1 of 1 is again 1. So I'm going to print 1 here, followed by a blank space. Next, I'm making list 2 to be blank. List 2 dot append of list 1 of 0. List 1 of 0 is 1. So I'm going to add this new item, which is 1. For k in range of len of list 1. So the length of list 1 is 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So if I give range of 1, it means k is going to hold the values of 0. So list 2 dot append of list 1 of k. List 1 of 0 is 1 plus list 1 of k plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So I'm going to add these two values and I'm going to append it to this list. So now the value of this particular list item is going to be 2. Next, list 2 dot append list 1 of minus 1. The last element of this list is 1, which I'm going to append to this particular list. Next, I'm going to copy the values of this list 2 to list 1. So the value of list 1 is going to be 1, 2, 1. And I'm going to print a new line. So the control goes to the next line. Next, the value of I will be 3. For SP in range of 2 into val is 8. 8 minus 3, which is 5. And range of 1 to 5, meaning it will be range of 1 to 4. So the first value of SP is going to be 1. And I'm going to print blank spaces here in the next line. So when the SP value is 1, I'm printing one blank space. When the SP value is 2, I'm printing one more blank space. When SP becomes 3, I'm printing one more blank space. And when SP is 4, I'm printing one more blank space. So with that, the control stops here and then it goes to the next line. For j in range of 0, len of list 1. List 1 length is now 3. So it is 0 to 3, meaning 0 to 2. 0, 1 and 2. And the value of j initially is going to be 0 now. Print list 1 of j, which is list 1 of 0. List 1 of 0 is 1. So I'm going to first print 1 here, followed by a blank space. Next, the value of j is going to be 1. So I'm going to print list 1 of 1. So list 1 of 1 is 2. So I'm going to print 2 here, followed by a blank space. Next, the value of j is going to be 2. So list 1 of 2 is 1. So I'm going to print 1 here, followed by a blank space. The control then comes out of this nested for loop and then it goes to the next line. List 2 equal to blank. So the contents are now deleted. List 2 dot append list 1 of 0. List 1 of 0 is 1. So I'm going to first append 1 to this list 2. For k in range of len of list 1. So length of list 1 is 3 and 3 minus 1 is 2. So k is going to be 0 and 1 because it's going to ignore the last value. And initially the value of k is going to be 0. List 2 dot append list 1 of 0 plus list 1 of 1. List 1 of 0 plus list 1 of 1. So 1 plus 2 is now 3, which I'm going to append to list 2. And the loop goes on where the value of k will now become 1. So list 2 dot append of list 1 of 1 and list 1 of 2. So I'm going to add these two values. List 1 of 1 is 2, list 1 of 2 is 1. So 2 plus 1 now becomes 3. Then the control comes out of this nested for loop and it goes to the next line where it says list 2 dot append list 1 of minus 1. The last value of this list 1 is 1, which I'll be appending to list 2. Then list 1 equal to list 2, which means I'm going to copy the value of list 2 to list 1. Print will print the next set of values in the next line. Now the value of I is going to be 4. For SP in range of, so 2 into val is 8 and 8 minus I, the value of I is 4. So 8 minus 4 is 4. So the range is going to be from 1 to 4, meaning 1 to 3. And the value of SP currently will be 1. And what is it going to do? It is going to print a blank space. When SP is 1, it will print one blank space. Then SP becomes 2, where it will print another blank space. And then SP becomes 3, where it will print the third blank space. The control comes out of this for loop and then it goes to the next for loop for j in range of 0, len of list 1. So the list 1 length is now 4. 0 to 4 meaning 0, 1, 2 and 3. So that is going to be the value of j. Initially the value of j is going to be 0 and I am printing list 1 of j. List 1 of 0 is 1, so which I'm printing here, followed by a blank space. Next, j becomes 1. Then I'm printing list 1 of 1. So list 1 of 1 is 3, which I'm printing here, followed by a blank space. Next, the value of j becomes 2. So list 1 of 2. List 1 of 2 is 3. So I'm printing 3 here, followed by a blank space. And then the value of j will now be 3. List 1 of 3 is 1. So I'll be printing 1 here, followed by a blank space. The control comes out of this for loop and goes to the next line where it says list 2 is blank. So I'm clearing the contents of this list. Then I'll give list 2 dot append of list 1 of 0. List 1 of 0 is 1. For k in range of len of list 1, the length of list 1 is 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Range of 0 to 3 meaning 0 to 2. 0, 1 and 2. And the initial value of k is going to be 0. List 2 dot append list 1 of k plus list 1 of k plus 1. List 1 of 0 and list 1 of 1. So 1 and 3. The sum of these two is going to be 4. Next, the value of k will be 1. So it will be list 1 of 1 and list 1 of 2. Sum of these two is going to be 6. The value of k is now going to be 2. So it will be list 1 of 2 and list 1 of 3. 3 plus 1, which is going to be 4. The control comes out of this for loop and then it goes to the next line where it says list 2 dot append of list 1 of minus 1. List 1 of minus 1 is 1, which I'll be appending to list 2. Then I'm going to copy the value of list 2 to list 1. And I'm printing a new line here. Then the value of I is now 4, so we cannot increment anymore because the values are within the range of 1 to 4 only. So this is the final output that we'll receive if we give the value of 4. Let's try to execute this code in Python and see what result we are getting there. So let me give 4 here. So as we can see here, 4 lines of Pascal's triangle gets printed on the screen, which is the same as what I was explaining you. Now let's try with a different number. Let me give 7. So a Pascal's triangle gets printed with 7 rows. Hey guys, hope you now understood how to write a Python program to print the Pascal's triangle for the required number of rows. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any queries, you can reach out to me at techietalkee@gmail.com. Happy learning and have a great day.